First plenary session, Equipping and Training Imperative. The session will be moderated by Lieutenant General A.S. Lamba, PVSM, AVSM, PhD retired, former VCOAS, and the founder, member, Governing Council, SAMDeS. Please join me in welcoming our esteemed guest speakers on the stage with a big round of applause. Lieutenant General A.S. Lamba, Air Marshal Tejinder Singh, AVSM, BM, DCAS, Indian Air Force, Vice Admiral Tarun Sopti, AVSM, BSM, Major General Sandeep Puri, ADG Futures and Transformation, Indian Army, DIG Rajesh, I may now request Lieutenant General A.S. Lamba to kindly conduct the proceedings.
Thank you, Aditi. We are starting the panel session on equipping and training imperatives. I think before I go on to this, there were a number of points which we picked up from the stellar presentations made by the chiefs we had and by other experts we had from their respective domains. I didn't get a chance to sum them up, but I will follow them up a bit here and later whenever we take these forward. Many of those things have been mentioned by both the chiefs who've actually been there. We at our levels have experienced it. And something that I want to share is the biggest voids, the biggest challenge for us when we saw our own war games from whatever level, primarily a divisional war game to a strike corps war game to a command war game, the biggest challenge was, what is it I can't see and what is it I can't hide? And that is where the entire spectrum of desirability in filling up these forms, these voids was. We here have gathered to begin thinking on this, and I would also say that there are strategies written by the United States already. The Brits have already written a number of papers. I've read about 7 of them, but we didn't want to recap in my opening address anything from those because this is an Indian perspective, and we wish to leave and hear from the presentations, where are we and where do we need to go? And I think that's where will be my start point. We all have 3 experts with us, and they are absolutely eminent speakers with us: Air Marshal Tejinder Singh, Vice Admiral Tarun Sopti, Major General Neeraj Shukla, and DIG Rajesh Varia. Now we have these speakers from their different domains. We have speakers from their perspectives, and we look forward to hearing from them. We have because the time has been shortened from 1 hour 10 minutes to about 35 minutes from now, the officers' resume and bios have been circulated or will be put up as we go along, as they speak. But I can assure you and I can assure ourselves that we have the best speakers with us today who are actually dealing in these domains and would help us from our conceptualization of transparent warfare as it pertains to an Indian environment is the key I'm trying to reinforce, where we are and what do we need to do. To begin this, I welcome Air Marshal Tejinder Singh to speak about his perspectives, battlefield, gaining battlefield transparency, assets and technologies. Deputy Chief of Air Staff, over to you.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Chair, Lieutenant General Lamba, and my fellow panelists. It's indeed a pleasure to be here in this August gathering with some of our very esteemed veterans. Air Marshal Daljit, Air Marshal Isar is here, Admiral Ghormade, Admiral Sudan, and other professionals. Now, when we talk of transparency, As you all know, the first military use of aviation was for reconnaissance. So transparency in battle or in warfare has been an essential requirement. And it has evolved with technology, with tactics, but it remains a fundamental requirement to know for being able to fight successfully. However, is transparency more relevant now? And if so, why? Various terms have evolved into the warfare lexicon when we talk of changes, and the current concept is all-domain warfare or multi-domain warfare, as the West calls it. The Russians call it, as a fallout of the Premikov doctrine, they refer to the new generation warfare. And the Chinese, they are following an incremental path, and they are currently in the phase which they call of integrated joint operations, and with a subtext of transitioning to integrated joint operation in an intelligence-sized environment. To my mind, what has happened is that the non-traditional domains, other than the maritime, land, and air, have gained preeminence, that is, the space and cyber. At the same time, conventional warfare, except for few conflicts, has generally moved away from high attrition to more decision. And when you talk of multi-domain operations in the academic construct, two elements that stand out are information supremacy. That means everybody needs to have information supremacy, and thereafter decision dominance. Information supremacy is where I think the overarching requirement in which the need for transparent battlefield arises. What we are looking at currently, we saw a few years ago the drone-assisted assassination of the Iranian General Soleimani. In the Ukraine war, we had a large number of Russian soldiers getting killed because of their usage of their smartphones. So transparency has acquired many dimensions, not just the EO or the IR spectrum, it is the EM spectrum, which encompasses communication jam, and how well to harness it and how well to exploit it in real time. At the same time, whenever any capability develops in warfare, the counters become extremely important, so you have to prevent transparency to your adversary. So parallelly, when you talk of transparency, we also have to talk of how we safeguard our own, prevent the adversary from having transparency about us. When you talk of Air Force, we see that you have now preeminence of drones, radars, satellites. I'm sure these are well known, along with the countermeasures. Communications, of course, encrypted communications are given, and so on and so forth. When you talk of ISR, remains the backbone of transparency. But one of the essential challenges is how to harness this particular intelligence in real time to be able to exploit it. That means deciphering, for which obviously the related IT tools, either AI-based, machine learning, natural language processing, and other software which automatically decipher the scene change and capture the essentials from the plethora and huge amount of information and data that is available. The next part is networking. That means the information should be available across domains. That means information which is there with the Army should be available with the Navy and the Air Force and vice versa. Therefore, networking and having networks in which this information flows not just seamlessly but intelligently so that it can be exploited. Because one of the important aspect of multi-domain operations is that an act in one domain can be responded in another domain for a similar, for a better effect, to cause a dilemma to the adversary. That means if something happens in, say, Galwan or Doklam, we may choose to respond it maybe in the maritime domain or maybe in the aerospace domain in the Kutch, etc., etc. To be able to do that, we have to have a flow of information that takes. So that is the challenge to which we are working. The Indian Air Force is also making progress in this field. The number of radars and networking, the IACCS. Most of you would know that the genesis of the IACCS, wherein all the radars are integrated to give you an integrated picture, actually stemmed from a peacetime requirement, the Purulia Armstrong, when a need was filled nationally to integrate all the sensors to be able to cover the entire airspace of India. So this has been a paradigm shift in the way the Indian Air Force operates, not just in war, but even our regular peacetime operations. All controlling is done through the IACCS. Some of you will be aware that the entire airspace of Jammu and Kashmir is controlled from Ambala. And as a redundancy can be controlled from Port Blair also. We frequently do these exercises wherein we operate from various nodes to control airspaces as remote. So that is a huge capability that we have acquired. As regards battlefield transparency, the need for satellite imagery, satellite data for the EM spectrum is well understood. You would have heard about the recent approval to 75 satellites, defense-based satellites. And this is a capability which we have in a very small manner, small amount as of now. But in a very short period of time in the near future, this will be there in a big way and available to the three services, as also the other security agency and the governments, to be able to get the required information in real time. We are also making a progress towards acquisition of the iStar. This is being done. Most of the work for this will be the payload. Essentially, payload would be indigenous. It will give us the capability, not just for the classical SIGINT, also the SAR imagery, also the ground-moving target it's not just the airborne targets as well as the ground-based targets, both in terms of EO, IR, and SAR imagery. This is, of course, some distance away, but what we have acquired, we acquired the AVAX, and now we have our own Netra, which is based on an Embraer, and we are in the process of acquiring more such platforms to be able to have see beyond the horizon. That means the airborne sensor will be able to see much beyond what the ground-based sensors can, overcome the friction which is there of the surface in terms of terrain, and give you the visibility of not just your own airspace, but well inside the enemy airspace. Once again, this is networked and it is seamlessly available across the entire Air Force in any of the nodes, depending on the requirement. So this is a very, very important capability that we have acquired and which we are refining. You may be aware that the IACCS is now onto the batch 3, which adds a lot of potential and potency to the erstwhile versions of it. There are a couple of projects of equipping the refurbished Airbus ACA that we have procured from the erstwhile Air India, Indian Airlines, as also the EWC Mark 1A projects that we are working towards. The payload, like I said, is developed by DRDO and is doing fairly well. In the terms of space-based countermeasures and counter-space capabilities, well, that is still beyond the services domain. Limited capability has been demonstrated through the ASAT that you are aware of, but this is some place wherein we are still some distance away. One particular technology which will give us results or dividends in the foreseeable future is the HAPS. That is the high altitude pseudo satellite. This is being progressed in both the fixed wing as well as the airship configurations, and it is being done as an IDEX challenge, and it is making good progress. So this would give a very cost-effective solution for us to be able to get the required transparency in real time and be able to exploit it at a very relatively easy cost. We are looking at flying up to very high altitude of 60,000 to 80,000 feet and beyond to be able to do that. We have also seen the use of Starlink in Ukraine, which extends the internet and morning, sir, to the Ukrainian army. And disturbingly, you may have read the news that one such device has been apprehended or in Manipur. So the need for transparency, whether it is not just for actual battlefield but also for the information warfare, is underscored. It can play havoc through IW if it is available. So this is something I think where we need to probably work. On our own times, we have, of course, really developed, when Galwan happened, immediately after that I had an opportunity, or rather I was posted at AOC JNK. One of the biggest challenge was to take our sensors to the forward areas and thereafter maintain them and keep them connected. So therein the SATCOM enabled communication systems have proved very useful. They are able to connect our sensors to the network and give us a seamless picture. But this is one thing which, one area in which we need to, maybe become better, improve the maintainability, compactness, and transportability. So this is one thing in which I think we have done good progress. And once again, this is an indigenous effort, and we are fairly proud of it. Okay. One of the, I'll not, although my staff has given me a whole lot of jargon, I will steer clear of it. I'll keep myself anchored into the immediate present, and I'll be more than happy to take questions. One of our very important projects, which we are making good progress, is the operational data link through the software-defined radio. So it is already proved successful in a limited manner. And with this, one very important facet, like for example, an aircraft that doesn't have a radar would be able to fire a missile based on the radar picture of another aircraft. So the seamless sharing of all sensors, pictures in real time with airborne platforms as well as ground sensors is one capability which we are very excited about. The Indian Air Force is, of course, visualize this through along with the HAL and DRDO as a eyeshadow program many years ago, and now it is developed. And the one good thing is that we are, although the initial sets we have procured from Israel for the SDR, our own encrypted sets are also ready. The challenge is to be able to have interoperability, but there are solutions which are being worked out, and we are confident that it will happen. At the same time, the naval and land forces platforms are also acquiring this capability. So it will give us seamless connectivity. So one of the essential requirements of transparency, while you have the best of sensors available, is that the capability or the capacity to be able to transfer that information quickly to the required stakeholders, and in a form in which decision making can be done. Of course, it leads to a larger issue, which is beyond the scope of today's discussion, is how this joint decision making can be done. You have to have protocols to do that. And what I'm talking of is a read which has been already recognized in the West. The US Senate, about a couple of years ago, has already embarked on a project for a fresh joint all-domain command and control system with the US Air Force in the lead, and they have, I think, earmarked a very big sum of money, some billions of dollars, towards that, so that the architecture of getting the transparency and ensuring that it is available seamlessly is there for effective operations. Some of the other niche technologies that are being utilized are, of course, related to UAVs, having networks up to 5G and 6G networks, wearable technology wherein the soldier or the airman or the sailor will have certain devices wherein selectively required transparency will be given or conveyed back. But the core major projects which we are currently looking at, the capabilities we are looking at, is what I have briefly covered. And with that, I thank you, sir, and I'll be more than glad to take any question that you may have.
May I now request Vice Admiral Tarun Sopti, AVSM, VSM, Deputy Chief of Naval Staff, to address the aspects of maritime domain transparency systems and sensor requirements. Admiral Tarun Sopti.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Samir Kamath, Chairman DRDO, Lieutenant General Lamba, moderator and founding member of SAMDeS, distinguished members of the panel, ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to stand before you and speak about a critical evolving aspect of modern naval operations, which is maritime domain transparency, with a specific focus on the systems and sensor requirements in the context of the Indian Navy. Sir, I'm conscious that time is short, and I will limit myself to about 10 minutes or less. Maritime domain transparency cannot be spoken without touching upon the salience of maritime domain awareness. And Admiral Karambir Singh in the earlier session had given us an insight on this topic during what he was talking about on a similar subject as I am talking about. As we are well aware, MDA is an all-encompassing term that involves being cognizant of the position and possible intentions of all actors, whether it's own, hostile, or neutral, in the constantly evolving maritime environment in the areas of interest. The relevance is because there are a lot of neutral movement happening in the maritime environment, unlike a land border where normally the two warring parties are facing off. It is further important to understand that the information on presence of naval warships, merchant ships, and vessels engaged in unusual activities provides early warning of threats to maritime security and safety. Simultaneously, a robust MDA also enables more efficient coordination of aspects such as search and rescue at sea. So before understanding the systems and sensors requirement, a little bit on the environment for which they are required. Maritime domain transparency would cover all three dimensions, which is the surface, in the airspace above the sea, and the underwater space. An effective organization of maritime domain transparency encompasses the ability to keep the oceanic areas under sustained surveillance and serves a number of distinct purposes. In peacetime, continuous surveillance of shipping, fishing, and other traffic, as well as the deployment and operations of maritime forces, helps to establish traffic patterns and unusual behavior prevailing at choke points, in coastal waters, and at focal areas leading to major ports. Any deviation from the normal state provides early warning of potentially illegal activities or an impending crisis. Routine and regular visibility of own units in a specific area of interest also conveys a message to potential adversaries and inimical elements. Anti-piracy patrols are an example of this. Similarly, in a case of an emerging situation, a coherent picture of the maritime traffic helps cut down initial confusion and facilitates discrimination between merchantmen, friend, foe, and neutral. This in turn enables the planning of responses and supports decision-making and prioritizing resource allocation. So two terms have been used here now, maritime domain transparency and maritime domain awareness. My interpretation, to correlate the two, the maritime domain transparency focuses on collecting and sharing maritime-related information, whereas maritime domain awareness focuses more on analyzing the available data to extract information of relevance on the behavior of the detected contacts. The backbone of any successful maritime domain transparency system is the technology that drives it. For the Indian Navy, a combination of different sensor systems and platforms are required to provide a holistic, real-time understanding of the maritime domain, which includes radars, sonars, electro-optical, and electronic warfare systems on board ships, submarines, maritime patrol aircraft, uncrewed aerial vehicles, space-based surveillance, and underwater detection systems, whether they are mobile or fixed. I'd just like to remind that a lot of the heavy lifting is actually done by the sensors on the ships, the traditional sensors, and while modern technology is providing us many options, yet the heavy lifting continues to be done by the radars, the sonars, and the EW suites. Simultaneously, with the increasing use of submarines and other subsurface platforms by nations all over the globe, having a robust underwater domain awareness through modern-day sonars, whether it's hydrophones or similar systems, fixed or mobile, is very, very important in building up maritime domain transparency. Secondly, the role of maritime patrol aircraft and remotely piloted aircraft in building up MDA or MDT is critical for a country like India with vast swaths of sea on 3 sides. These assets can be quickly deployed and reach the extremities of our areas of interest within hours, in fact, to detect and identify any unknown entity. It is of critical importance to have a healthy number of aircraft in any naval inventory, and with the induction of more HALE RPAs in the near future, such as the MQ-9B, the Indian Navy is well prepared to meet the requirements of maritime surveillance in the coming years. Efforts towards development of high-altitude pseudo-satellites, which have extended endurance, also highlights the importance of the constant research and developments within our own industry and scientific community. And I think we had a mention of this in the earlier session. Thirdly, the field, which has had the biggest increase in capabilities in the last 10 years, is space-based surveillance systems. With the launch of Cartosat-1 in 2005 as part of the SBS-1, to the recently announced launch of more than 50 satellites within 5 years as part of the SBS-3 program, India has been at the forefront in possessing indigenous capability to design, manufacture, and launch and operate these surveillance systems. The importance of having this capability cannot be understated, as it ensures our nation's ability to operate independently, even in scenarios where external assistance may not be available during critical situations. Interestingly, satellite imagery and analysis based on commercial satellites provides an option in areas where we do not have our own satellites or do not have sufficient capability, and also the analysis tools that are being developed using AI gives a fillip to the analysis capability, which is very, very important to extract actionable information. The Indian Navy, of course, relies on all kinds of space-based sensors, from swath element systems, satellite systems, to narrow swath SAR and optical sensor surveillance satellites. Additionally, the automatic identification system is a very, very important, vital, in fact, very important tracking system used by ships and mostly by merchant ships to exchange the information of their position, course, and speed, and other vital parameters, which is used by the Indian Navy to track the movement of these merchant vessels and to monitor maritime incidents such as piracy and IUU fishing. We established the Information Fusion Center at Gurugram into December 2018, and that as a maritime security center has been a milestone in our understanding and analyzing the assessment of maritime threats. The IFC has also representatives from multiple foreign countries, foreign nations, to ensure smooth exchange of information with all our regional partners in the Indian Ocean region. And this furthers the maritime domain transparency. We also have an information management and analytics center at Gurugram, and that is being developed now into a national level MDA, which will provide a common operational picture with inputs from all national agencies, relevant national agencies, to anticipate the potential threats. This is a whole of government approach and connects 7 Government of India ministries and about 15 national agencies, and we expect that this will significantly enhance maritime domain transparency, especially in the coastal areas, for coastal defense and coastal security. Now, all this is possible, collection of information, but how do we share it? So robust terrestrial networks and systems which are very important for information exchange on shore for the maritime space, are not just enough. To do this, we have to also be able to share information from sea. And that is where communication satellites, high bandwidth satellites, come in. It's important because as we move to autonomous systems, most of their control and exchange of data is riding on high bandwidth systems, and to be able to deliver this information ashore becomes more and more relevant if they are to be usable. As the Deputy Chief of Air Staff had mentioned, it's important for us to be able to exchange information with the other two services, and as part of the joint communication architecture, the interconnection of the services networks is also partially achieved. In fact, very recently we have proven the interconnectedness of the Navy's IMSAS with the Air Force's IACCS, and this will help us take the sharing of information forward. Lastly, I would like to highlight the future of sensor and system requirements for a transparent maritime domain. Development of next generation communication systems, also alluded by Air Marshal Tinder Singh, includes the integration of systems capable of high-speed data transfer with global coverage and the utilization of Starlink and OneWeb, though having certain cybersecurity issues, is a promising field which we are looking to explore. In conclusion, maritime domain transparency is not just a strategic advantage for the Indian Navy, it is a critical operational requirement that underpins India's security and economic interests in the maritime domain. I have deliberately kept my talk to bring us back to some of the basic elements, just to remind the audience that while new technology is certainly taking us forward, and we really need to look forward to it, the substance of our maritime domain transparency continues to be the traditional systems that we have, and these are the robust systems that we need to depend on and use them to share the information that we have and thereafter analyze to make sense of what is happening around us. And that will ensure that we can monitor the vast expanse of the Indian Ocean and beyond. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Admiral Kotik. May I now request Major General Neeraj Shukla, Sena Medal and Power, ADG SP from the Indian Army. He would address equipping and training for land operations in a transparent battlefield. Over to you, Major. If you can stay with 10 minutes,
Yes, sir, absolutely. Esteemed panelists, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that we, through the start of the session one, we've heard adequately enough about the transparency of the battlefield and the requirement of transparency in the battlefield in the future. I want to assure the audience on behalf of the Indian Army that Indian Army is totally aligned and committed to ensuring that we take on the emerging technologies, which are 43 of them, club them under 7 categories, and take them forward in our systems in the battlefield. For this, our chief has established a new cell, which is called Transformation and Weapon Systems, which is focusing on these emerging technologies. And we're not far off. We are third in the world today as far as embracing of these emerging technologies or investing into these emerging technologies is concerned. However, what the CDS brought out, before I go on to what Army is doing, and I'll talk specifically about the Indian Army, what CDS brought out that we have to derive our strength from where we come from our history. And he spoke about Mahabharata, and he gave an example of Duryodhan. I would like to bring another, a facet of Mahabharata, of which we are cognizant of. The very first slok of Gita says, Dharm Kshetre Kurukshetre Samveta Yutsava Mamka Pandavascheva Kim Kurvat Sanjaya. Sanjay was televising live the battlefield, which was 3,500 years ago. Western world, what they are doing today is they are trying to embrace or trying to get things what we had 3,500 years back. If we believe that this is our history, it is not mythology. Sanjay was televising, was transmitting or narrating the battlefield which was 8 kilometers away at Kurukshetra. So keeping that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I'll straight away jump on to my next slide just to highlight what the other speakers had spoken. We are aware how wars are being fought in Israel and Hamas and Ukraine and all that. We have spoken about Starlink, a network of 7,000 satellites, which is now giving us a thought that is the battle out of the control of NSA or the government? Is it in the private enterprise? Is a private enterprise or an entrepreneur is going to dictate terms of the battlefield? Palantir constellation of AI, which can just log on to any of the satellites in the space, which are approximately about 9,900, and they can actually give you the location, precise fix, and about the last fix of the particular weapon system or a platform. So Indian Army, this slide is primarily to tell you that we have gone through the battlefield. We are reading it on a regular basis. Our cells and domains which have been established, we are doing it. At our Strategic Planning Directorate, we are doing it. And we are also trying to fuse it with the 3 services. Now, I'll straight away jump on to, we all are all aware about these issues. This is what is the diktat that the Indian Army has taken last year in the January, 3rd of January to be precise, that this is going to be a decade of transformation. Last year, we had dedicated ourselves to committing to taking on technology, embracing technology in 1 year. And then we gave ourselves a motto to say that we have to transform into modern, agile, adaptive, and technologically enabled future-ready force capable to deter and win wars in a multi-domain environment across full spectrum of operations to protect our national interests in synergy with other services. So last year, this year, when the chief took over, he said that this technology or carrying out a research in a technology is a time-consuming job. So we must make it a decade of transformation, and that is how we are now working on this profile. And this present time, we are in the process of transition, where we have sensed what is the requirement for the future, and we are engaging with the industry and putting in our requests and demands, and also engaging with the 3 services to ensure that we have a volume available for Make in India project becoming successful and give a fillip and become self-reliant in what we want to do for the future. Followed by the consolidation phase, and by 2047, aligning with the goal of the Prime Minister that we want to be a Viksit Bharat. And that basically means what? That we'll be a future-ready force which is capable of effective deterrence and is able to prosecute decisive multi-domain joint integrated operations. So for this, the transformation that we have taken on, we have got these 4 domains in particular. That is force structuring and optimization, modernization and tech infusion, which I've spoken about, jointness and integration, without which we will not survive, and it's a whole-of-nation approach, and HR management. Unfortunately, in our services, we are again cognizant of the fact that we put HR first before carrying out the transformation of the organization. So we are now going to be focusing on the transformation and then model our HR according to that, with a background fact and knowledge that it's a whole-of-nation approach. It is not Indian Army or the 3 services themselves. It is all the agencies of the government which will chip in to make ourselves a future-ready organization. Now I come to the substance. I'll take another 10 minutes for this. That what we have done is that we have taken technological embrace as a national mission, which is ranging from 6G to national quantum mission. Regional tech nodes have been established, 1 per command, which is 7 of them, to harness the technology at the doorstep in conjunction with academia and industry. Most of the IITs and other research establishments are proposed to have Indian Army cells, though presently it is restricted only to 7 IITs. To ensure convergence, 16 technological clusters have been identified by Indian Army, for which all line directorates of ours have been nominated to steer the technology infusion come research and development. Hyper computing, AI cloud is being developed soon for the 3 services, but Indian Army is taking the lead. Presently, 50+ AI projects are being pursued, which includes development of an indigenous large language model and data virtualization layer. Blockchain technology-based vendor registration model is under progress in collaboration with METI and CDAC. Some of the lines of effort which are generally known, but I will talk about the actionable efforts taken up by the Indian Army, that we are sensitive to the importance of battlefield situational awareness. This is being done through incorporation of border surveillance systems and nano drones at tactical level, and also through satellite-based systems at the strategic end. The SBS, that is satellite-based surveillance phase 3, which will launch 52 satellites, and with 21 being built by ISRO and 31 being built by private companies. So we cannot compare the Chinese, and we cannot compare the private enterprise like Starlinks or the other competitors thereof. However, we are on the right track, and by 2028 we want to achieve this. The Samoa program entailing LN satellite triad shall be launched in 2025, while GSAT-7B dedicated for Indian Army communication is proposed to be launched in 2026. Drone making and flying incubation centers are being established in each of the 6 commands, while the concept of ISR brigade and drone teams is being analyzed. For the communication part, it is being upgraded through the software-defined radios, which the Air Marshal had brought out, and also SAMDeS, which is our own network of mobile communication. We are also in the process of deploying terrain-specific electronic warfare systems, drones, and anti-drone systems. For decision support systems with data analysis and AI for predictive analysis, we are already in the second phase of its incorporation in our systems. Fusion between operational and administrative applications is being looked at through a gateway, and in order to ensure exchange of data across large expanse of our borders, space-based communication options are being identified besides the NFS structure, which has been rolled out pan-India across all the borders. For survivability and mobility, in order to mitigate the threat from unmanned aerial systems, terrain-specific counter-UAS systems are being deployed. As far as induction of new weapon platform or mechanized forces is concerned, light tank Zorawar is already making the news. Future-ready combat vehicles, future infantry combat vehicles are also on the drawing board, including wheeled armored fighting vehicles. And these, most of them, are all indigenous. Aviation assets in form of light combat helicopter and Apache will enhance capability in conjunction with missile and swarm drones and RPAs. For the logistics, capacities and efficiencies are being augmented by employing logistic drones and robotic mules, and to promote jointness and integration, 3 joint logistic nodes are fully operational and 4 more are in the pipeline. Common utilization of bases for operational and administrative functions, as feasible, have already been introduced. However, the low-hanging fruits like common access to station amenities continue to expand to include schools, colleges, campus, and other paraphernalia, administrative paraphernalia that exists within the 3 services. Now, coming to the training part of it, apart from the R-track, each of the command have a training node, and we are now surely focusing towards training, reviewing the syllabus for our training, which will incorporate all these technologies. The initiatives that have been undertaken to en masse lift tactical commanders to techno commanders are being doubled up by increasing the technical quotient in the promotional exams. Various courses undertaken by officers are also planned to be logged in by the MS branch, that is our military secretaries branch, which manages the profile of the officers for better employability by giving them successive prolonged tenures. MTech vacancies have also been increased substantially, nearly doubled, and the officers who are being sent on MTech are being tasked with an agenda so that when they get back to the Army, they are able to carry on their research work for the Army by embracing that particular technological field where they had spent 2 years in the IITs. MOUs with academia are being leveraged for enhancing competency threshold with special emphasis on IW competencies for senior officers. Super specialization for pursuing passion versus following the command-only model is also being encouraged. Gentlemen, I was also the director of Indian Defence University, which is yet in the making. And in fact, I was the first one, made the entire bill, the ordinances, the act, the law, the bill which was to be tabled in the parliament. I can tell you we had this vision of transformation there as part of INDU in 2014. And we had all these centers planned as part of the Indian Institute of Defence Technological Hub, where we had proposed that we will embrace all these technologies, and it will be a fusion center for academia, for industry, for foreign think tanks, for foreign students, and partners from friendly foreign countries. I think the time is now ripe that we need to move forward by embracing everyone. What the ex-naval chief had spoken about, that we need to have some cyber command or a software command where we dedicatedly focus on perception management, info warfare, apart from the making the battlefield transparent and embracing all kind of technology which exists in the world today. So Indian Army, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, is totally aligned to this thought, and we are working towards that. And as I had brought out, that a decade of transformation is our motto, and every energy of ours is dedicated towards this, while we share the same thought with the other two services through the IDS. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
And our request DIG Rajesh Warrior, Principal Director of Communications and SAR, Indian Coast Guard. He will cover the aspects of leveraging space technology for law enforcement at sea. Over to you.
Chairman DRDO Dr. Samit Kamath, esteemed guest and esteemed panelist, ladies and gentlemen, I express my sincere gratitude for providing me the opportunity to speak on the subject matter. Before I go into the subject, let me just dwell upon the basic duties and functions of Coast Guard. Coast Guard entails to protect maritime and other national interests of India in the maritime zones of India. So the measures to be taken for protecting maritime and other national interests are as shown on the screen. And post 2611, we have been also entrusted with the duties of coordinating coastal security in territorial waters. For ICG, the oceans are everyday battlefield which is transparent, and for undertaking our duties and function, we are required to be visible and maintain a clear real-time evaluation of activities within its area of responsibility. In fact, our transparency is also a deterring factor against inimical activities. Our operations are conducted concurrently by individual units with inputs from the higher echelon. Now coming to the maritime arena, the enormity of global maritime space include over 1.49 million ships tracked globally. Manual detection of suspicious activities is nearly impractical, prompting adoption of anomaly detection for automatic identification system tracks. These systems leveraging vessel traffic patterns and identifying aberrations as indicators of illegal activities. However, anomalies exist in such automation, to mention a few. Chinese fishing vessel was detected on 12th November 24 west of Bhatkal in Kanyakumari in our coastal surveillance network and also in NC3I network of Indian Navy and also in the marine traffic websites. However, while actual verification on ground, nothing was seen on the ground. Similarly, same case with the Sri Lankan vessel on 5th March 24, which was sighted 63 miles west of Kochi, but on ground verification, no contact was sighted. So studies indicates that only 30% of the vessels use automatic identification systems, thus leaving almost 70% untracked, particularly small fishing vessels and recreational boats. This limitation underscores the need for complementary methods like radar-based tracking alongside automatic identification for comprehensive anomaly detection. Thus, a combination of ISR techniques is critical for transparent domain, which is of operational value for the maritime forces. Just to cite an example which is famous for all, on 23rd December 2023, tanker Chem Pluto en route from Saudi Arabia to New Mangalore was targeted by a Houthi drone attack. The ship was targeted by using open domain AIS available in the public domain. And the strike occurred approximately 500 nautical miles from Iran coast and around 860 miles from the Yemen coast, which serves a stark reminder of the evolving nature of maritime threats. In sum up, I intend to delve upon the critical topic of transparent warfare and its implication for maritime security, specifically to Indian Coast Guard's operational dynamics and perspective. The maritime domain is complex amalgamation of security and economics. The global maritime environment has shifted towards a paradigm where intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance plays a pivotal role in maintaining not only situational awareness but overall domain presence so as to safeguard our own national interest. Near persistent visibility and trackability create both opportunities and challenges to maritime forces. In essence, every movement of every asset and every operation comes with the inherent risk of exposure, thereby significantly altering the dynamics of planning and execution. ISR is a tool set, but transparency provides operational planner ability to see, identify, and track every movement of adversary while operating far away from the scene of action. Transparency and domain awareness, therefore, lies on a fine balance of usage of maritime space by a legitimate force and inimical elements. Indian Coast Guard exploits the transparency provided by the integration of sensors, satellite networks, and OSINT to significantly enhance its operational efficiency. Widespread deployment of advanced sensors enables real-time monitoring and tracking of maritime activities, ensuring better situational awareness and quicker response times. Improved data access and analysis enables faster decision making. Now coming to the capabilities of Indian Coast Guard, the operational strength of ICG lies in ISR capabilities. As a lead intelligence agency for coastal and sea border, Coast Guard works in close coordination with national intelligence and law enforcement agencies including TechInt, HUMINT, and open source intelligence. Indian Coast Guard also operates a robust advanced coastal surveillance network comprising of coastal radar chain and NC3I network of Indian Navy, and also national AIS chain established by Directorate General of Lighthouses and a long-range identification tracking system established by the Directorate General of Shipping to ensure near continuous monitoring of India's vast maritime zones. The reconnaissance capabilities are supported by a fleet of more than 152 platforms and 72 aircraft for surveillance in area of operation. By harnessing intelligence from advanced surveillance systems and human networks, ICG gains strategic advance in addressing a wide range of maritime challenges. And this includes anti-piracy and armed robbery missions, combating drug trafficking, smuggling and poaching, mapping of polluters, maritime search and rescue, combating illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing. And as far as the challenges are concerned, India is poised to have the maritime Amrit vision of 2047, aiming to transform India's maritime sector and enhance blue economy. Key goals including boosting coastal shipping, developing world-class ports and transshipment hubs.
May I request you to just
Yes, another 3 minutes. Yes. So, since because of short of time, I will just go through the thing. So, with the time, we are supposed to have achieve around 13 deep draft ports and 6 maritime clusters, including around India. So, almost 98.8% of our exclusive economic zone is supposed to be opened up for exploration and exploitation. So, monitoring all these area is a significant challenge for the maritime forces. Now coming to the mitigation measures, Coast Guard is equipped for mitigating the challenges by threat prediction and anomaly detection using AI-powered systems to analyze historical and real-time data from sensors, data fusion by the big data platforms to consolidate information from multiple sources, AI-generated automated alerts for emerging threats, strengthening Intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities critical to maintain maritime domain awareness, enhance sensor systems with integration of advanced radar and aerial drone surveillance of the maritime zones. The implementation of decision support software with single window data availability and scenario simulation and automated resource allocation tools to ensure optimal deployment of asset based on threat analysis and operational priorities. Despite technological advancement, human aspect cannot be ignored, so adequate impetus is also given on the human aspects. So the way ahead for ICG is enhancing technological infrastructure by investing in advanced technological systems like satellite-based surveillance, integrated sensor network, and artificial intelligence. Enhanced ISR capabilities leveraging advanced camera and wide area surveillance tools. Training and skill development is continuously undertaken for the officers and men. Partnership in way of collaboration with technology providers ensures access to the latest innovation and expertise. In the realm of modern maritime operations, information is intelligence leading to effective decision making and strategic planning. The ability to collect, process, analyze, and disseminate accurate and timely information is critical to achieving operational access and ensuring maritime security. The Indian Coast Guard recognizes this principle and employs a sophisticated approach to managing information rooted in both access and denial strategies, encapsulated in overarching concept of transitioning from transparency to translucency. Thank you.
May I first welcome Dr. Sameer Kamath, Secretary, Department of Defense R&D and Chairman, DRDO. Sir, welcome to you. And Shri Sanjeev Kumar IAS, welcome to you, sir, Secretary, Department of Defense Production. We're very happy to receive you here, sir, today and hear on to you. I'll quickly sum up. And I think carrying the words forward from where the chiefs, former chiefs, and the experts in other domains left us with, we have seen that a huge amount of work is already underway. And the director and the respective services today given a very reassuring perspective that we may be evolving into a domain of challenging transformation warfare, transparent warfare, but the transformations going on at the services level appear to be under control and in the right dimensions as also directions. I think the purpose of this is to read on where we are, one, and second, where do we need to go to identify the voids that still remain. It is very happy to hear that some of our services may be claiming to have the third best fusion centers. We've seen the Navy talk about 2 fusion centers. The Air Force has shown a complete control of information supremacy in whatever they said. And I think at the end of this session, it's reassuring that we are on the right tracks. The research with the DRDO and under the guidance of Defense Protection, I'm sure that our integration of equipment, the essence of this panel discussion was equipping and training. And we've covered the requirements of equipping and how we are going to get equipped. And the delays, I feel, are because we want to go it the indigenous way. I think with that being the focus, we would be in for a long-term self-reliance and indigenously produced systems, which tomorrow do not bank on whether it's Starlink or it's another arena in the Arunachal where the Chinese are known to push in their own satellite systems to put your missiles into disarray. I think I just have 3 points to make about the training. Equipping, we've seen, identify the requirement, but when we come to training, I think this is where the challenge lies. Having everything, the infrastructure, the architecture, and the equipment, the integration truly is the user, how the people in the front line till the strategic level will actually integrate. And that's the big challenge. 2 examples that I can take out is, like I made a mention earlier, as co-commanders of Strike Corps, our voids are only 2. What is it I can't hide, and what is it I can't see? And this wide is the domain of knowledge that you are seeking. And once you can patch this up carefully, whether you are on the offensive or on the defensive, it's my personal experience, not only from what we've done, but from the innumerable war games that I have seen how the theaters will evolve, how they will evolve based on current and future threat perspectives. This has to be dovetailed into training. Though that's an operational scenario in a war game, but it all is one part. Till the men are trained, till the junior level officers, senior level officers, and the strategic level leadership, like I mentioned, all of nation approach is to be involved in transparent warfare. 2 more points. Even exercises, I just bring 1 point out of the 7, 8 I have. To practice exercise, if this is the transparent warfare, where you can see everything, how do you exercise to test your concepts? You can't get armored divisions together. You can't get armored brigades together. You can't put combat commands together. You can't. So you'll have to have a representation. In war game, it was very easy to say, an armored div there, a mechanized division there, 2 infantry divisions, 2. They have been rehearsed. But the challenge I see is, where do you practice? Even the Americans and British have been able to push in only 2 divisions that they call divisions in dust to train them for desert warfare. No longer is the transparency like it was in Afghanistan or Iraq. It's there for us to say. For us, with 4 sets of borders, the mountains in the north, riverine in the east, maritime in the south, and fully plain to desert on the west, we have to adapt these areas, these expertise and domains to meet these challenges. And my last point, we've seen China. They've developed a kill strategy of using precision-guided munitions, which are targeted at only one sole strength of the Americans, for example. That's their focus. It's the carrier groups. All their development of precision munitions is towards that. In the context of nuclear warfare, Russia has made a very regressive announcement and decision to say they would take AI on board nuclear weapons. The threat I see is, will then nuclear systems with AI be autonomous? There is a need to make a full human control on it. And that's a very recent, that's what I have spoken is the last 3 days evolution in these domains. China's kill strategy to strike carrier groups, and Russia's decision to put AI on board autonomous systems, which is not desirable. And my last thing is, it came up in the morning that we are an army with a conventional strength in troops, in equipment, intense in numbers. Is that the order or the format that we will have tomorrow? If we can't move, will there be a realignment that will be required? And I think that's where the key lies. It will have to be a balanced approach between our legacy systems and what we are thinking for the future. It will remain that the legacy cannot be left and you cannot transform to another domain. It is important to make this point, whether it's training, equipment, or whatever else, we would have to align them smoothly for a future battlefield or a future theater of war where we have a balance, even on AI. We'll have to have a full control of systems that have taken AI on board. With that, I come to the conclusion of this session. I thank the speakers for a very lucid and clear and reassuring perspectives that we have given you. Thank you all very much. And if there are any questions, we can handle them. Because of shortage of time, we might take them at a bit later. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, General Lamba. Now I'll kindly request General Lamba to kindly present a token of gratitude to our guest dignitaries on the dais. May I request for a group photograph, please? Thank you very much, dear gentlemen, for gracing the occasion with your esteemed presence.